In this wood shop here at Heartland Forest in Niagara Falls, Purple Heart veterans from around the world work beside civilians to learn woodworking skills using hand tools. It's a form of therapy that helps the veterans take their minds off of both the memories and the pain of having done battle.
I responded to an email from someone that was looking for one of our saws. He said he had done some research, thought we had the best, but he couldn't afford a new one. Wanted to know if we ever had any with cosmetic flaws that we would sell at a discount. And he went on to say that if we did, and if we'd let him know, he thought he could save the money up and possibly get it. And then to justify the request, he said he was a combat wounded Marine, lived on a small military pension. He said ever since he had gotten involved with hand tool woodworking, it was the first time that he found any peace from the physical and the mental pain that he suffers from. So we went out on a limb, we helped this guy, and that following fall, we decided that in our class of 12, we would cut it down to a class of 6 paying students, and we would bring in 6 combat wounded veterans where we would cover all their expenses, including shipping them home with a bunch of tools. And I must add that a former student of mine, his name was Bob Lippick from Sudbury, Ontario, had died just before one of the workshops. And his wife found out what we were doing, and she wrote me a check for just shy of $20,000 and said, "Rob, this is what Bob would want you to do."
The program's impact and reputation has brought at least one veteran from the other side of the world.
I actually have PTSD from my time in Afghanistan, and I took up woodworking for my own personal mental health, and especially hand tool woodworking. It's quiet, it's calming. You can put some music on in the background. You're making very little noise, and the best thing is the noise in your head quietens while you're concentrating on making something, or concentrating on the process of making a beautiful item out of wood.
Though Cosman's Purple Heart program focuses on veterans, at each one-week session, the veterans work alongside civilians whose tuition helps fund the program.
I told my wife at the time, I am definitely going to go to one of Rob's classes as soon as I got the time to break away from work and do that. And then found out that it's actually something he was doing for the military as well, in recognition of their service, and especially those that had paid a big price for that service. But you listen to their stories and what they went through and what they are going through, and your heart just pours out for them. And you really appreciate programs like this that give them an outlet and give them a way to heal.
Vietnam veteran Gary Witt was awarded 2 Purple Hearts for his service.
My experience in Vietnam started out with me joining the Marines in 1968, and I ended up going over there to try to serve my country, but I joined the Marines and thinking that I was going to die and I'd rather be buried in dress blues. And it was quite different. I mean, when I got there, I had a friend of mine who was in high school who had been captured. He'd been there for a couple of years when I got in. He had a total of 5 years of prisoner of war, and I always thought that I would go in and look for him, but that didn't happen. But I was assigned to Gulf 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, which our unit was called the Magnificent Bastards. And it was a tough group, and I was in the point man for our company. I was in recon and doing a little bit of everything, and we were out on patrol several times. I got wounded up in North Vietnam one time, and the second time I was back in the southern, but still in the northern part of I Corps of Vietnam. We've seen people die on the battlefield, and when you've done that, it does traumatically. It does something to you. They call it PTSD.
It's hard when you're around civilians. It's not nice to talk about. So when you're around other veterans, it's much easier to open up because they've seen it all, done it all. And no matter how you talk about it, you can talk about it in a light that may not be seen appropriately, but it's how you have to grieve with it within yourself, and everyone understands, whether they be Australian, British, American or Canadian, New Zealander.
Next year, Rob plans to move the Purple Heart Project out of Heartland Forest and back to his home in New Brunswick. There, he hopes to be able to ramp up the number of veterans he can help out with his program. Visit his website at robcosman.com for more information. Reporting in Niagara Falls for The Source, I'm Mike Balsam.